The energy truce is a topic that's on everyone's lips right now. The enemy is supposedly stopping the bombing of Kyiv, the Kyiv region, and generally suspending strikes on energy facilities. What is this? Is it just another bluff from the Kremlin cannibals, or is it a real first step toward ending the war? Let's figure it out together. Is this another trap for the armed forces of Ukraine, or a gesture of goodwill from the Russian dictator? In Russia, they started talking about a ban on strikes against Ukraine.
All of this is the result of our work.
On the morning of January 29th, information appeared online about a possible ban by Russia on shelling Ukrainian infrastructure facilities, which allegedly went into effect at 7 in the morning. Notably, this information first appeared on Russian propaganda outlets.
A ban has been imposed on any strikes against targets in Kyiv and the Kyiv region, as well as any infrastructure facilities throughout Ukraine.
Such magnanimity from Russia, in the midst of Ukraine's energy crisis, immediately displeased the Z propagandists, who began shouting about betrayal.
This is utter nonsense. No words. Freaking traitors.
Later, Z-blogger Romanov added that there was an internal verbal communication claiming that the restrictions would supposedly remain in effect until February. At the same time, the document itself does not specify any concrete dates for when the ban on strikes will be lifted. Russian public forums also report that an agreement on an energy truce was supposedly reached during negotiations in Abu Dhabi. Putin's mustache, Peskov, refused to comment on the publications about the energy truce.
This is a very bad practice. We call for reason.
An energy truce is necessary for the Russian Federation precisely at the moment when it is trying to stabilize the internal situation within the country. Putin is in a panic over the possibility of social upheaval. All of this could provoke social unrest in the Russian Federation, and as a result, a change in the political elite. Putin absolutely cannot allow this, so, albeit covertly, he gives the green light to the so-called energy truce.
So far, neither side has provided any official confirmation of a ceasefire. In turn, the founder of the Kraken unit of the main intelligence directorate, Konstantin Nemichev, noted the following.
It seems the energy truce is in effect on both sides. Let's see how they will implement it.
Some experts believe that the spread of reports about a halt to strikes on energy facilities may be an attempt to gauge the reaction of the Russian public to possible agreements. There is also a suggestion that Russia has run out of missile stockpiles.
If this information is confirmed, the energy truce would undermine the main argument of the Russian side at a time when it is trying to strengthen its position in the negotiation process. This refers to the so-called energy terror. In other words, under pressure from Ukraine's defense forces, Putin was effectively forced to abandon this leverage in the negotiation process.
Let us recall that on January 28th, in his evening video address, Ukrainian President Zelensky stated that Ukrainian intelligence had learned about Russian military preparations for a new attack. And while there is still no final decision between the countries to stop strikes on the energy sector, Ukrainians must remain vigilant.
President Volodymyr Zelensky named the conditions under which Ukrainian troops would withdraw from Donbas. In an interview with Fox News, he stated that Ukraine cannot simply give up these territories and explained what kind of compromise might be possible regarding the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Thus, the Ukrainian president explained that when it comes to the issue of the occupied territories, it's not about a referendum, not about parliament, and not about the president.
We can't just leave from there. That goes beyond our legislation. We can't simply give up our territories. And it's not just about the law. People live there, about 300,000 people. We can't just lose these people. We can't leave, because hundreds of thousands have been wounded there and tens of thousands have died. Besides, our army is there.
At the same time, Zelensky said that a real compromise could be the creation of a free economic zone with special rules.
It's not just about the law, but also about the reality on the ground. That's why we proposed, as I see it, a compromise, the creation of a free economic zone. If we withdraw by several kilometers, then Russia must take reciprocal steps and also pull back its forces by several kilometers. Special rules will apply in such a free economic zone.
Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine will only agree to such a solution if Ukrainian voters approve it in a referendum. Zelensky also believes that the war could end in 2026. The president stated that Russia mobilizes 43,000 people every month, but this year, for the first time, the size of the Russian army has stopped growing.
That is why we believe that the war will end in 2026. Otherwise, Putin will have to mobilize people, and he does not want problems with his own people.
Earlier, Zelensky stated that Ukrainians are striving for a just peace. Although 87% of Ukrainian citizens are in favor of peace, at the same time, 85% do not support the withdrawal of defense forces from Donbas. At the same time, Russia insists on the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, calling this a supposedly necessary condition for ending hostilities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is ready to meet with Vladimir Putin in any format. But it is important that the actions and words of the Russian leader match. Zelensky said this during an online briefing. He noted that it seems a bit strange that Putin tells US President Donald Trump that he wants to end the war and that this is his desire, while at the same time stating in the media that he wants and is ready to continue the war.
He strikes us with missiles, openly talks about it, rejoices at the destruction of civilian infrastructure, and gives orders to his generals where to go, what to capture.
According to the Ukrainian leader, such actions by Putin do not match the supposedly peaceful rhetoric he uses in his dialogue with Trump.
I told the US president that, in my opinion, all these messages have somewhat different natures. But once again, how to meet, in what format to negotiate, it doesn't matter to us. We are ready. What matters is that the actions and words of the Russian leader are consistent.
Volodymyr Zelensky noted that Donald Trump discussed all 20 points of the peace plan with Putin. In turn, Trump told the president of Ukraine what Russia is allegedly willing to agree to. According to Fox News, President Zelensky and Putin may have their first phone conversation in 5 years. This decision was prompted by the meeting between the leaders of Ukraine and the United States. Media reports say that organizing direct telephone talks between the country's leaders would be a diplomatic victory for Trump. However, RBC Ukraine, citing a source in the Ukrainian leader's team, writes that wars are not ended over the phone. A conversation between President Volodymyr Zelensky and the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is not being discussed at this time, but Ukraine is always ready for it, the source in the team stated. The last time the Ukrainian president and Vladimir Putin spoke was in July 2020. In August and September of 2024, there were opportunities for a conversation, but they disappeared when the Ukrainian armed forces entered the Kursk region. The Kremlin stated that a phone conversation between Putin and Trump will take place in the near future, while a conversation between Putin and Zelensky is not being discussed at this time. In addition, Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov announced Russia's conditions for a ceasefire. Supposedly, for this to happen, Kyiv must withdraw the Ukrainian armed forces from Donbas.
The withdrawal of the regime's armed forces from Donbas, beyond the administrative borders.
Notably, Russians were offended by Donald Trump's words that he was ready to come to Ukraine to prevent the killing, which Trump said during a briefing with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
The Russian press and Russian telegram channels wrote something completely different. They said that Trump is not willing to go to Ukraine. No, that's not true. For them, this is unpleasant news and a shock.
The expert also noted, Trump told journalists that during his meeting with Zelensky, the idea was developed to create a working group that would include Pete Hegsted, Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. And this group will not be working with the United States. We've already agreed on everything with us, Trump said.